was brilliant, gives them a 6-point lead. They have a 7-point lead with 35 seconds left.
This is crazy.
Somehow they just let Andrew Nembhard throw in an easy three. Very next play. What are we doing here, Alan?
All he has to do is catch that curl and go right to the basket. Why does he stop? This is just not a low IQ basketball right here.
Instead, it goes the other way. Tyrese Halliburton, yes, plus the foul. Now it's a 1-point game. So Milwaukee has a 1-point lead with 17 seconds left. And then, Monica, avert your eyes.
Gary Trent Jr. had hit 8 threes in this ball game. It was on the brink of being the Gary Trent Jr. game for good reason, and now you got this. I feel for this young man.
So there were 8 seconds left, and it's Halliburton down by 1 with the ball in his hands. 7, 6, 5, 4. 1-on-1 with Giannis. He takes it, and he gives Indiana the lead with 1.3 to go. Bucks, desperation heave. No good. Indiana wins. An unbelievable finish. Halliburton exultant. However, afterwards, that is Tyrese Halliburton's father, John, in the face of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's waving a towel. The towel has a picture of Tyrese's face on it. The two of them go head-to-head. This is just a terrible moment here. In the end, it is Indiana that wins and advances. A lot to unpack. Let's start with after the game.
I believe being humble in victory. That's how I am. Now there can be a lot of people out there that are like, no, when you win the game, you gotta talk and it's a green light for you to be disrespectful towards somebody else. I disagree. I've won the championship. They haven't. Having somebody that which I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for his son, and I'm happy that he's happy for his son. That's how you're supposed to feel. But coming to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable.
So I think we all co-sign that it's totally unacceptable. And by we all, that includes Tyrese Halliburton and his father. Tyrese said so after the game, that his father shouldn't have done it. His father released I think a sincere apology afterwards on social media. It doesn't change the fact that it happened, and the image of it is going to remain. You see some of the words on the screen there of John Halliburton apologizing for what happened afterwards. Wendy, we'll get to the comeback and all of that, because that's the storyline here, but we can't pretend this didn't happen afterwards. What, if any, fallout should we be expecting in the wake of a moment here that could have been much, much worse?
Yeah, there could be a sanction for John Halliburton, who's a guy that I have a personal relationship with and have known for years, and this is not really who he is. He's a gregarious guy who's a fixture on courtside, and the Pacers can't allow anybody onto the court, even if he's the parent of a player. The penalty, Greeny, is that we're talking about this, and the world is talking about this instead of what his son did. Because his son had 3 amazing baskets. He had such great plays. We didn't even have a time to show the dunk that he had that forced overtime in an incredible play. And look what happens here. They specifically run a play to get Tyrese Halliburton on Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best defenders in the league, former defensive player of the year, and he just beats them. Maybe Kevin Porter Jr. can help better there, but basically they want Giannis to be on his own there. They think Giannis can stop him. And a career moment for Tyrese Halliburton, who just recently, within the last week or two, was voted as the most overrated player in the league by his peers in a poll released by The Athletic, which I think stems from the fact that he was on the Olympic team this last year and didn't have that big of a role. And he answers that criticism with this mega game to close out, an MVP like he did. But now we're not talking about it. And so I'm sure that, knowing John, I'm sure he feels terrible, not only that he did this to Giannis, but that he's taking away from his son's performance.
Yes, Tyrese Halliburton tweeted, overrate that after the game. So, there's so many different parts of this. You're there. You guys are at all of these games all of the time. People somehow get out. Again, he is the father of one of the players.
We see this.
We see them out on the floor, but you have
not just him.
We just can't. But we can't have this.
No,
right? We just can't have that.
Of course, you can't have him confronting a player from the other team in celebration, of course. But let's also not forget there's a lot of history between these two teams, right, Monica? You know this. You covered a lot of those series where they have had issues. There was a time where a basketball was stolen and run into the locker room. They had a big fight about that.
That's right.
But there's also have been some disrespect. They have faced each other, I believe, 3 times now in the playoffs. The Bucks have had issues trying to beat this fast team. And on top of it, you also had in this series Tyrese Halliburton mocking Dame Lillard's Dame Time celebration in his face, and they had also issues. There was a lot of sense of disrespect coming from the Pacers towards the Bucks in this series. Knowing where the Bucks are, you kind of understand with Lillard and where he is physically, where Giannis is and this franchise is. I think the Bucks I think Giannis especially was very proud, had enough and didn't want to just walk away in that situation. He wanted to talk to them.
I give Giannis all the credit in the world for holding it together on the floor and not letting it escalate to something that is much, much worse. Let's just be as clear as we can, and something shouldn't have to be said out loud. No player should ever be confronted by anyone right after a game, win, lose, or draw. There is no excuse for it. Again, I understand the apology. I get it. Sure. It's not for me to accept it or whatever it is. The league will decide what they want to do. Monica, let's deal in the comeback here. Yeah. Can we put the full screen up? B11. This is an unprecedented comeback. And I mean that literally. Entering this game, going back to 97-98, which is when we started keeping track of this, there had been 1,609 playoff games in which a team trailed by at least 7 points with 40 seconds left. This is the first time that team lost. Yeah. Monica, what do we say?
Well, so this game went final during halftime of the Knicks-Pistons game, so we were watching in real time. And first you pull up the box score, and you're like, oh, the Bucks are in it. Despite not having Damian Lillard, you kind of thought this thing was over, and then you get to this last minute of play. I had Game 3 in this series, and I asked Rick Carlisle, what's the biggest difference between your group and this year? And he's like, the experience, obviously, but the maturity. And he pointed out a couple of guys that I don't know get a ton of praise. Nembhard, who hit that big shot, is one of the guys who he mentioned really changes this team's ability on both sides of the floor, and he was injured the first part of the season, which was why they kind of struggled.
He hits big shots.
He hit a huge shot in that one. So I think for this one, the will by the Pacers, right? They're coming up with defensive stops when you need it, and you don't necessarily think about them as a defensive group. But Tyrese Halliburton, the other thing that Carlisle said about that list, he goes, who else is on that list? And he's right. There are other guys that have quite a few accolades in their career that are on the list.
LeBron James is on that list.
What are we talking about? Right. What are we talking about in terms of this overrated list? So this team is very confident in who they are, and that's what you saw down the stretch.
In the meantime, just very quickly, Windman, Giannis Antetokounmpo had 30 points, 20 rebounds, 13 assists, and his team loses. His season ends. What do we think we are going to see coming up now with Giannis?
Okay, first off, Giannis has said and done nothing, nor has his representation, to my knowledge, has done nothing to indicate he wants to do anything but remain a Buck, okay? There are other players who have wanted to leave, have greased the skids. There's nothing like that happening in Milwaukee. Having said that, knowing that Dame Lillard is going to be out for a big chunk, if not all of next season, knowing that a big chunk of this team is free agents, knowing that they don't have much to trade, knowing that Kyle Kuzma, the trade they did during the season, was kind of a failure. He was benched down the stretch of the game last night. Knowing that at the last 10 playoff games that Giannis has played for the Bucks, he's averaged 30 and 15, and they're 1-9. You know, I don't have to draw you a map, paint you a picture. This is a crucial moment in Giannis's career where he's got to decide, do I extend my contract here in Milwaukee, or do I look to go someplace else? The entire NBA is going to be watching what happens, because you're going to have bidders potentially, and you're going to have fallout. There's going to be other stars on the market who are going to potentially have to wait and see what happens with Giannis, and then how that changes could define the NBA summer. We will wait from Giannis to hear what the direction he wants to go will be.
There are very few players in this league that you could say, if you have him on your team, you have a chance to win a championship. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of them. 7 straight years, he's one of the finalists for MVP. One of the best players in the league. The entire league will want to trade for this guy if he is available.